It's time for the first countdown of 2024. Let's get to it. Hi everyone, I'm Sandy and welcome back to my channel. Today I have 1001 book countdown for you. The first one of the year. I always love the first one of the year. There's something about me resetting my numbers that just makes me exceptionally happy. So if you're not familiar with the 1001 book countdown, I will leave a card up here for you where you can go and watch the original video. But basically I'm reading books off of the 1001 books you must read before your die list and just slowly making my way through this massive project. I made it a lot harder for myself because I combined all editions of this particular book together, and when I did that I ended up with 1,316 books to actually read. Now, I'd read a number of those before starting my channel, so I started the channel with 1001. I don't know yet what I'm going to do when I reach zero. Hopefully I do actually reach zero. We'll see. Maybe I'll go back and read those 300 that I didn't have a document for. I don't know. We'll see. That's a long way away. Like many years. So that is what my massive project is. So hopefully you consider giving me a subscribe and sticking around and seeing how long it actually does take me and what kind of progress that I make over 2024. I would love if you join me. But for today, what we will go ahead and do is put up the numbers, which are 831. That is what I have left out of the 1,316 books, and 52. What is 52? Every year at the beginning of the year, I pre-select 52 books that I want to try and focus on throughout the year and then slowly try and get that number down to zero. It makes me feel like I'm making some real progress, though I haven't made it to zero any year that I've been doing the 1001 book countdown. So last year I got to 1. I was very close. So I'm pretty happy with the overall progress that I've been making, but I've never quite gotten that number down, all the way down to zero. It's a tough one. It's a tough one. I've been debating whether I want to kind of change the rules for that. And if it's a reread that I haven't already talked about, can I count it? I don't know. I'm still trying to work that one out, but I do own 53 books, 53 or 54 books off of the 1001 book countdown that I haven't read yet. So I'm hoping to get there this year. We'll see. But I do have a really great update. This is for the first couple of weeks of January, so very happy with my progress so far. I know I won't be able to continue up at this kind of pace. Having some time off really helped me, and yeah, I don't think I'm going to get this many in every couple of weeks, but this week's a magnificent update. The first book that I have for you is this one, The Day of the Triffids by John Wyndham. This particular book was originally published in 1951. John Wyndham has 3 books on the 1001 list. This one, The Midwich Cuckoos, and a book called Chalky, which I've never heard of. I have read The Midwich Cuckoos, and now I have read Day of the Triffids. So I only have 1 book left by John Wyndham. This one, oh man, this is a post-apocalyptic kind of novel, and it involves these weird plants that are called the Triffids that have the ability kind of to also move, and their sting is very toxic to humans. But the main character in this particular book wakes up in the hospital after having just a normal kind of procedure, he was in there being monitored for something else, but he had been his eyes had been wrapped because he had an accident. There was something that happened. I don't want to talk too much about what that was. And so he wakes up in the hospital and he's trying to figure out what's going on and has no idea. Okay, very creepy. And if you can imagine, you're blind because you've got stuff on your eyes and you're hearing all these weird noises and you're trying to figure out what's going on. I'm like, oh, there's a great line in this book. It's like when the creepies kind of start in that your imagination starts to run. It's very hard to get rid of that. I 100% felt that way about the beginning of this book. Now, as time kind of goes on, you learn more about what happened. There's something that happens to everyone else that didn't happen to the main character in this particular book. So you're in a post-apocalyptic world. You have something that very few other people have. You can imagine what happens with some of that. It is very fascinating, very well done. I liked the main character quite a bit. I liked this journey that he had to go on and kind of how he had to maneuver through things and not really knowing what was going on or what was happening, how the plants were involved and what they were doing. As of course time goes on, he finds other people that are like him. And, there are always going to be challenges in that kind of post-apocalyptic world where there's something bad that has happened and you are one of the few that maybe that bad thing didn't happen to. I thought it was very well done. About the middle to the end of the book, there was some, like, two of the characters got separated, and then after that it always just felt a little bit too chaotic for me, and I wanted to get back to them kind of being together and just being in that world of trying to survive, I guess. But very well done. I would say I'd like this one better than the Midwich Cuckoos. I certainly obviously remember this one a little bit more. I wonder if I'll remember it in a year from now or 2 years from now. But the Day of the Triffids, yeah, that was a fun start to the year. I say fun, but it wasn't fun for the characters in the book. Very, very interesting story. I did like it quite a bit. I ended up giving it, I believe, right around a 4-star mark. But with this book, we do get to go from 831 to 830, and it was on my 2024 list. So I get to go from 52 down to 51. Not bad. All right. So what else do I have? I have one of my subscriber favorite reads in for my 2024 TBR. It happened to be, I already actually had it on my 1001 list and I owned it. I'm so excited for this one. This one was recommended by my subscriber Penny. And this is one of her favorite reads from 2023, and that was A Pale View of the Hills by Kazuo Ishiguro. Kazuo Ishiguro actually has 5 books on the 1001 book countdown. I have now read 4 of them. I have one more, which is The Unconsoled. So A Pale View of the Hills was originally published in 1982. This book is set in 2 different locations at kind of 2 different timelines, but both have the same narrator. The first one is in Japan, and then the second one is in London. And there are some main characters that the character in Japan is interacting with. There's another mother and her daughter, and you're just trying to figure out what in the heck is going on and why does this mother in Japan have such a just weird relationship with her young daughter. And it just seems like so casually, I don't know if oblivious is the right word, but she's like, oh, she'll be fine. She'll be fine. Don't worry about her. She'll be fine. And the main character is freaking out with what's going on with this other little girl. And I don't know if that's this little girl that's on the front of this particular book or not. It is a little bit confusing as to who is who in that part of the story. Because then as you transition in and out of the current time frame or the London time frame, there's some things going on with her daughter there. It's just like, okay, are these the same person? Are they not the same person? I'm still not 100% sure who is who. Is this person is this a real person from before? Is it the same but it was very well done, and I definitely cared about all of the individuals in this particular book and wanted to learn more about them. And so for me, I thought it was excellent, but I'm still a little bit unsure about the ending. I'm unsure about what actually happened to the other woman and her daughter. And I kind of went back and reread it a few times to see if maybe I just missed something. So for me, that ending was a little bit just convoluted. And I don't know if that's part of the brilliance of this book. And that's part of what Ishiguro meant to do, is make you have questions about what actually happened to these people, who they really were. But very, very well done. I would say it's close to the top of the Ishiguros that I've read. I think The Remains of the Day is still right at the top of the list of Ishiguro novels. So, but with this book, I get to scratch one off of my subscriber favorite project, and I get to go from 830 to 829. It was on my 2024 list. So for that number, I get to go from 51 down to 50. Very, very good. Very happy about that as well. And I have one more book for you. Oh, and this book is probably the favorite book out of all of the ones that I read in the first part of January. And that is Oscar and Lucinda by Peter Carey. Oh, this book. Peter Carey only has 2 books on the 1001 book list. This one and Jack Maggs. Yep, Jack Maggs. This book was originally published in 1988. And I had read the back of this book along with the cover, thought certain things where this book would start, thought I understood kind of maybe what would be happening in this book based off of the synopsis or the summary on the back. And that was completely different than what I expected. The first part of this book is really with Oscar. and when he's young, and you get to learn all about him and his family and everything that he believes in. And then you get to transition to Lucinda, and you get her story on its own as well. And those two, that beginning and those two stories, I loved learning about them. I loved seeing who they were, how they were brought up. So many parts of that were so charming, and the language in that was just absolutely gorgeous. I was loving this book in the beginning. I just thought it was a beautiful, beautiful story. You don't get Oscar and Lucinda actually together until about midway through the book. And they have a lot in common. They're both pretty young. They both are pretty impulsive. They both have a couple of issues that may be the same. There's a lot of miscommunication. There's a lot of misunderstandings in this particular book. And it's frustrating to read that part of it going, you guys just need to talk to each other and be honest with each other, and this would not be happening. But it also, again, was just really fascinating to go through these things. The premise on the back of the book is that they have this card game where they make this bet. And while that is in the book, it really is almost secondary to a lot of the beginning of the book. My one, is it an issue? Is it a complaint? Criticism? I'm not sure. This is a 500 plus page book, and I still felt like the ending was rushed. I got to the ending and it's like, wait, we're done? Well, okay. And I will say that this book is probably one of the easier books to potentially spoil the ending for. So I'm not going to say too much. I'm not going to say any more about it. But why was it so abrupt? After 500 pages, I felt like the ending just flew by, and I wanted a little bit more of some of the characters, and that's all I can really say. Yeah, I'm trying really hard not to spoil this book, but Oscar and Lucinda, if you haven't read it, it didn't quite make the 5-star, but it was close. I would say it got within that 5-star possibility. If you watch my channel, you may know I don't give 5 stars very often. I'm very, very stingy for some reason, but this one is in the solid 4.5 range for me. It's just the ending being rushed that made me kind of go, I think it's a very well done story, and lots of characters that are worth your time is what I would say. Oscar and Lucinda by Peter Carey. Wow. And I got my biggest book off of my TBR for this month done as well. So very happy about that. But with this book, we do get to go from, I forgot already, 829 to 828. And it was on my 2024 list. So for that number, we get to go from 50 down to 49. I'm already in the 40s. That's incredible. I'm now in the 820s. Also incredible. What an amazing week. It's been 2 weeks. What an amazing couple of weeks, and some great books to read to start the year. What's coming up? I have The Good Soldier by Ford Maddox Ford. I got spooked by that book because the first line is, "This is the saddest story they've ever heard." I'm like, oh, I don't know if I'm ready for that. I have the short history of tractors in Ukrainian, which I really am looking forward to. And the last book is one of my other subscriber favorite books, which is Slaughterhouse 5 by Kurt Vonnegut. Those are the next 3. I like to try and get a little bit ahead in January so that as events start happening towards the middle of the year, I don't feel a lot of pressure. Last year, I got very, very behind. I don't want to fall that far behind again. So have you read any of these books? I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments. But as always, like, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, everyone, thanks. Bye.